Hey, how's COVID going to affect the national real estate market? Let me break that down for you. Hi there, Steve Schwab with the Portland Lifestyle Team. Hey, hopefully your time in quarantine is going well. I can say for myself, I'm probably about a week away from having to put my hair in a ponytail, so a haircut's got to be in my near future, I only hope. Hey, today I'm going to talk about the real estate market nationally. I have been talking recently with you about how the market is being impacted and fluctuating a little bit locally. But from a national point of view, I think there's some numbers there that you're going to find interesting. The Case-Shiller S&P Home Index for pricing is a tool I'm going to use to explain this a little bit. What this is it's a report that comes out at the end of every month, towards the end of every month, and it goes back 3 months prior. So we had the report that came out on April 28th. That is for the February data. Now, where this gets interesting is February is the last month before we saw the lockdown. So the February numbers were actually very positive, and they showed some growth coming out of January heading into the spring. So moving forward into March, April, and May, it's going to be a very interesting thing to watch. So to start out, the Case-Shiller report is made up of two composites. There's a 10-city composite and a 20-city composite. Portland, Oregon is part of the 20-city composite. And so let me just tell you first the standout front runners, I guess, for the month of February. By city, number one was Phoenix, followed by Seattle, followed by Charlotte and Tampa. Phoenix had a 7.5% annualized appreciation. Seattle was at 6%, and Tampa and Charlotte were 5.2%. So pretty strong rates of appreciation there. Now, in the commentary section of the report, Craig J. Lazara, who's the managing director and global head of the index strategy for Dow Jones S&P, talks about what we've been seeing nationally. But an interesting point he makes at the end, and let me just read this. It says, importantly, today's report covers real estate transactions closed during the month of February and shows no signs of any adverse effects from the governmental suppression of economic activity in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. As much of the U.S. was shuttered in the month of March, next month's data may begin to reflect the impact of these policies on the housing market. So, it's going to be interesting to track this information going forward. I'm going to talk about it a little bit today, but we're going to come back to it in about a month, and we'll start to see what kind of trends that we're looking at that point. Okay, before I go into the Portland specific data as it applies to this report, I'd like you to take a quick look at your screen and look at this chart. That goes back to 1988, and you can see that home appreciation from the as seen in both the 10-city and the 20-city composite was on a relatively steady incline from about 1990 up until 2007 when the whole thing kind of went over the cliff, and you can kind of see it depicted right there in the middle. We bottomed and headed back up a little bit, largely fueled by the first-time homebuyer tax credit. We saw a little bit of a hiccup at that point. That was related to job loss. And then as things started to settle down, we ultimately found ourselves in a relatively stable yet still upward trending real estate market across the country from about 2012 until today. It's going to be interesting now to see what happens in 2020, latter part of 2020 and 2021. The next 18 months could be kind of interesting to watch, and I'm going to track it here for you and share that information. Okay, so the overall report uses a baseline of home pricing from the year 2000. So there's our beginning point, and each city that participates in the reporting has an index number associated with it. So in the case of Portland, Oregon, the index number is 242.77, and what that means is as of February of this year, Pricing in Portland, Oregon was at a level 242.77% of the year, higher than the year 2000. January to February saw about a 0.6% increase, and a little slower from December to January at 0.3. Overall, for the last 12 months, again from February of this year, overall Portland saw about a 4.9% annualized appreciation. So for the number 3 was Charlotte and Tampa at 5.2. You can see we weren't too far behind. So again, a monthly report. We'll see the next one towards the end of May, and it's going to be looking at March's data, which is going to be the first month that we were in a shutdown, and that's where things are going to start to look kind of interesting and be kind of fascinating to track. We're already seeing kind of a little bit of a drop off in inventory levels across the country. I've been reading a few reports out of Realtor.com and Zillow that are starting to show some of these trends. And again, this report, as it starts to roll up, it's going to give us a better look at that. Hey, if you have an interest in your own price, own home's value, I'd be happy to share some specific information on that with you. We can do it over a Zoom call or just over the telephone, whatever's most convenient for you. I'm going to put my contact information there on the screen. Feel free to reach out. Again, times are going to be a little bit interesting going into the spring and summer here. We're going to get through it though, and in the meantime, stay safe, be happy, be healthy, and I'll be talking to you again real soon.